Anyway, let's watch Scott Jennings handle yet another CNN meltdown and see why facts always beat feelings. Before we jump into the panel, I'm going to show you what our guy Pete Hegseth said that was so outrageous that sparked this silly debate. Let's go.
No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. No more frivolous complaints. No more anonymous complaints. Yes, they can put their hands on recruits. We're undertaking a full review of the department's definitions of so-called toxic leadership, bullying, and hazing. To empower leaders to enforce standards, we are done with that. We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits, ensuring that future warfighters are forged. Yes, they can shark attack, they can toss bunks, they can swear, and yes, they can put their hands on recruits. This does not mean they can be reckless or violate the law, but they can use tried and true methods to motivate new recruits.
I mean, why? I think that's basically the question a lot of people ask. Why? What is the point of all of this?
Well, I interviewed Secretary Hegseth some weeks ago for my book that comes out in November, and he was talking a lot at the time about the warrior ethos. This is a big topic of conversation for him, and he described what he believed had happened in the military culture to me as that a wet blanket had been put on the military by all these rules and sort of cultural experimentation and so on and so forth. And at the time, this is several weeks ago, he said, I'm going to ultimately remove this wet blanket. And that's, I think, part of the culmination of this plan. There are a lot of conservatives who believe the military has gotten soft and has taken its focus off of being lethal and put it on other things. I think this is part of that. I think he also has a plan to reorganize the officer ranks and have fewer 4 stars and fewer people at the top, more middle leadership. So they've got a whole plan about culture and leadership.
So why is he so obsessed with allowing people to be more toxic, essentially weakening the whistleblower system, even maybe expunging older complaints from people's records so that they can move on with their lives after a certain amount of time has passed, and officers in the military?
Well, you keep calling it toxic. What?
No, I didn't call it that. He used that word.
That was the word.
He explicitly said that there's too much focus on toxic leadership. Those were his words, not mine. I don't even know what he means by toxic leadership, but he thinks it's bad that people are described as toxic.
Well, toxic is a pretty loaded word. I will say as a woman that I am happy that we have a pretty large female population that has gone into military service. I think we will continue to, despite the fact that they are going to require the same physical fitness for women that they are men, at least for those going into combat.
Whenever there's a female conservative on these panels, don't they stick out like a sore thumb? Like, of a female on this panel, if you last however many episodes you've watched, that short clip of that woman talking right there was reasonable, logical, asked questions. We're not used to that with the women on this show. What was Abby's question? Something like, why is Pete Hegseth saying they're going to allow people to be more toxic? I mean, not what he said, but at this point, I'm pretty numb to Abby. And judging from your comments, I am not alone. I'd say, being very conservative, 60% of the comments in every single video have to do with Abby being annoying, interrupting, or just an all-around nightmare to listen to. And this clip just reinforces that. What Pete Hegseth said is we're doing a full review of the department's definition of so-called toxic leadership. He wasn't promoting toxicity, retard. He was mocking people like you that use that word to label anything they don't like. It's the military. They can handle a few harsh words. My dad, who I'm very proud of, enlisted in the Marine Corps during Vietnam, and his boot camp stories crack me up. I mean, I've heard them all, but I love for him to tell them to me again. Needless to say, I irritate him a little bit. But here's an example. Once, he and another recruit were on light duty during boot camp because they were sick. The DI said, we're going to PT and I want you ladies to clean the head until it's sparkling. And they did just that. Right then, another platoon came through, just wrecked it. They come back from PT right after that happened. My dad and the other guy standing at attention, the DI went straight into, what the F? Saw that mess and boom, no questions, gut punch. And of course, while not fun at the time, my dad laughs about it now. The point is, boot camp breaks down young men and builds them back into disciplined, capable Marines. My dad went from an aimless college kid to finishing law school in the top 10% of his class. He credits the Marine Corps for teaching him grit and pride, the same traits Hegseth's talking about restoring. So no, Abby, the military doesn't need more safe spaces. It needs focus, toughness, and purpose. The U.S. military should be feared by our enemies, not distracted by HR meetings.